evening, and welcome to this week's Black Mental Health is Black Health. I'm your host, Norman Lucas, and we're here with my guest, the illustrious Reverend Dr. Dominique Denman, a lifelong friend. And we have a lot to say about Resurrection Sunday versus Easter. And I will tell you in a minute how that impacts your mental health. But if you've been here before, you know we have to breathe our way in and out just to relax and decompress from the day. So let's get in it. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. One more in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4. Just that moment to breathe in and decompress from whatever the day may have brought your way. So we are ready to jump in there. Dominique, how are you this evening?
I am doing well. How are you?
I am Margie, just great.
Awesome.
So I want you to take a moment to introduce yourself and tell us something cool about you.
Oh, well, I am Dominique Denman. Uh, I am a native Houstonian, now residing on the East Coast. I live in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I spent about 15 years in the New York and New Jersey area. And I am just excited to be with you on today. And you said what was something cool about myself. I don't know. I used to sing with the Houston Grand Opera Chorus for about 15 seasons, and I guess that's something interesting. There are not many African Americans that do operatic or classical singing, and that is something that I guess I was just naturally gifted to be able to
Mhm.
do. And so, aside from all of the other genres of music that I love and listen to and sing, that is one of them as well. So, I guess that's considered, I guess, pretty cool or pretty nerdy, one or the other.
I think it's cool, and I will tell you, Dominique has an amazing voice, and there's no genre that she can't sing. I'm convinced of that. You put it in front of her, she's got it. Well, tonight we want to talk about Easter versus resurrection. And you might say, well, how does that fit with mental health? I believe, and this is a personal belief, that our physical, mental, and spiritual health are tied together.
Hmm.
And the better our spiritual health, it can help our mental as well as our physical health. I talk to so many people who their faith is their coping mechanism. They still do therapy, but they rely on that faith. And the cornerstone of the Christian faith is Resurrection Sunday. And when you have that core belief, you can draw on that in whatever you're going through. You know that God's going to get you through. But when we think about Easter versus resurrection, there's a lot going on. So I thought, let's take the time to make sure people get it. And that's why I do say Resurrection Sunday and not Easter.
Hmm.
So let me just ask you from the beginning, Dominique, do you
Hmm.
celebrate Easter or Resurrection Sunday? Which do you celebrate?
I celebrate the resurrection, and it has not always been that way. I think that has evolved over time, and with my understanding of the celebration, it's definitely resurrection for me.
Before we talk about the difference, you said, you had evolved, and we grew up in the same church growing up, Good
Hmm.
Hope Missionary Baptist Church on the corner of Wilson and Solanier in the fourth ward of Houston, Texas.
Hmm. Hmm.
And we had many an Easter Sunday back then. Just give me one or two of your memories just about Easter Sunday, because it really ties into the traditions that we
Hmm.
have.
Yeah, so I remember as a kid, Easter was the time of year where we knew we were going to get a new outfit, we were going to get new shoes, we were going to go shopping, we were going to get that hair done. And I really, really remember that my mother and my grandmother, I think they took it very, very seriously, because why else would my grandmother be making matching jackets and ponchos for my brother and I. I still have the pictures. And they were serious. I mean, my brother would have three-piece Pierre Cardin suits every year. I would have these dresses and these shoes, and it was a big deal. And don't forget the Easter speeches that we used to have to learn, and the candy, and the Easter egg hunts, and all of those things. I guess that was a way to make it exciting for the kids, I would imagine, to get them to understand, what we were exactly celebrating. But those are some of the things that stick out in my mind about, Easter.
And when we think about it, we focus so on all of those other things that we didn't get. They did teach us, I have to admit, at Good Hope, what it was about, but it was a disconnect. Do you know where the tradition of new clothes came in for Easter?
I actually do not. Share that
Well,
with
let me
me.
tell you, I'm a researcher. My nerdy self is I like to research and dig and dive. And what I found out about the new outfits was the new outfit was a symbol of rebirth. And we're going to talk about just the Easter. It is all about the rebirth and new and spring. But the new clothes were also a symbol of new birth and new life. So you needed something new. So you would show up on Easter Sunday with something new because it was said to bring good luck for the upcoming year.
So I guess that's similar to eating black eyed peas on New Year's Day. It brings
I
you
guess
some sort
so.
of good luck. I
Mm-hmm.
never heard that before about
That's
the good luck for the rest of the
Mm-hmm.
year. No, I hadn't heard that. You taught me something new.
Always willing to teach. And we think about it, we had new clothes, and now, the tradition is not so much that, but you still find some people to do it. Now you
Hmm.
just show up in jeans and t-shirt for Easter
Right.
Sunday. But back then it was the new everything. I think even had new underwear on Easter Day.
Okay.
Everything had to be new, okay?
Right.
But I wanted to talk about Easter versus Resurrection Sunday. So I'm going to say something about Easter, then I'm going to ask you to talk about Resurrection
All right.
and the cornerstone of our Christian faith. So, what some people may or may not know that Easter really is associated with the pagan holiday, and we hear that. But what pagan holiday? Well, it was celebrating. At, I'm not even Easter or Oster, who was a pagan goddess, but she was a goddess of spring and the springtime and celebrating spring and fertility.
Hmm.
And when celebrating her, we're paying tribute to the renewal of the earth, the rebirth of life after a dead winter. So you can see if you were going to pair a pagan and a Christian holiday together, man, that fits. Paying tribute to the renewal of the earth, but the rebirth of life from the dead of winter. We think of the rebirth of
Mm.
Christ from the dead, his resurrection. So it was apparent, and they're around the same time. People also ask, well, why does the date of Easter change everywhere? Every year. We celebrate Easter on the Sunday following the vernal equinox of the full moon.
Hmm.
So it's tied to the moon and the earth. So you can see how, in
Right.
someone's mind, it made sense to tie them together. But resurrection is so much more.
Mm,
I'll tell
yeah.
you about some more traditions later, but understanding that there is a connection, and it's a logical
Yeah.
connection that they would be together. But we say Easter and resurrection and tend to, in some people's mind, use them interchangeably without understanding the difference.
Correct.
So, what is resurrection? I told a little about what Easter is. What is resurrection?
Well, it's at the heart of the religious significance, especially for Christianity. It is commemorating the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead. Um, and as we know, this is considered like the foundation of uh our Christian faith, right? And so this event that happens early that Sunday morning, it symbolizes victory over death. It symbolizes a victory over sin, which offers us as believers hope. It offers us this hope for eternal life, and uh, the spiritual observance, you know, uh, involves all these different religious practices. We have services. Tonight we're celebrating or doing Monday, Thursday service, and tomorrow we'll be doing a Good Friday service. But it also offers us a time to reflect on the gift, reflect on the sacrifice that was made on our behalf, that shedding of blood for the remission of sins. And it also points to the sacrifice that was made by Jesus, and it it's a symbol of hope that something that is dead can live again. Be that a dead relationship, or be that some challenge that we're having. Something could be dead on the inside of us, spiritually or emotionally. And when we think about resurrection, we say, hey, it can live again. This situation can live again. It can turn around. It offers this hope and this transformative power that the resurrection actually does symbolize. And so that is, in a nutshell, I think, the what we celebrate and what we commemorate at this time is that hope for life everlasting, hope for better, hope for something being revived that has been dead. So it I think the coexistence of the two, um it speaks to the many different ways that we're able to celebrate and observe. And so I guess, as you were saying, it kind of blends the secular tradition or the pagan influence with a very important and profound significance for our religious faith, for our belief.
I like the way you said that and tied together, because I hear so many people are some Christians are very opposed to anything. If you're talking about Easter, the bunny, and all of this, that you can't do that if you're Christian. But I like the way you said it's really a tie of the two, because we do it. We grew up, but as long as we understand that that is not where our faith lies, but the symbols make sense. So I'll throw out another symbol or two, but we'll kind of go back and forth with this.
Okay.
What do you know about the colored eggs? And why we even have eggs? And why we eat chocolate?
The colored eggs and the chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
I go back to uh, this statement of how, a way to get the kids excited and involved, because I think you talk about death with kids, that's not always that's not always a positive thing. But if you say, okay, we're gonna search for these Easter eggs, it's a part of the tradition, if you will, of how we celebrate or how we observe this time of year. And I've been known to like a good Easter egg, every so often. But I think, as long as we don't get it confused, as long as we don't blur the lines too far, and really hold our belief in those eggs, hold our belief in that Easter bunny or the chocolate or whatever, we have to always remember, what the real reason for the observance is. It has nothing to do with all that stuff that we commercialize. And so, yeah, I'm not too, uh, I guess I wouldn't say I oppose, or I don't even, take into
Mhm.
consideration that this is something that has always been done. And as you talked about how we grew up and all the things that we used to do, um, but I think we always connected it with a spiritual aspect because we were always given those Easter speeches, Jesus rose on Easter Day and all that kind of stuff, so we I think that's the way we didn't get it blurred
Mhm.
and that we didn't get it mixed up. But that's the way we were brought up, and so that speaks to our traditions as faith believers in the Baptist faith, how we grew up. But I would not, as long as we don't forget the real reason. It's just the same thing, I guess, with Christmas. As long as we don't get caught up in presents, 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 or whatever, and
And
we know
understand who the real gift was.
and we know the real reason for the season. So yeah.
Well, how early do you think eggs were decorated, associated even with spring? How long ago do you when do you think that tradition might have begun?
Oh,
And I
well,
will say, stretch your mind before you answer that question.
I would say hundreds of years.
I'm gonna go bigger than that. The first spring, remember this is about the spring celebration, the pagan side, was celebrated, known to be celebrated in Persia around 580
Wow.
yeah,
Wow. Okay.
580 BC.
Right.
BC.
Okay.
So there was this tradition of coloring eggs. Now, why eggs? Again, eggs are associated with life because where does our life begin? With the egg.
Right. Okay.
So, egg is associated with life, logically speaking. Now, after early Christians decorated eggs red to symbolize the blood of Jesus during the resurrection.
Mm.
And that was so the tie between the secular or pagan celebrations of spring and the celebration of Jesus' resurrection have always been there.
Mhm. Mhm.
We kind of get further and further away and make them look really different. But eggs were dyed to symbolize it was part of the spring celebration. Now,
Mhm.
here's what I found interesting. Early Christians also celebrated Lent, and we celebrate Lent. And during Lent, some of the food you didn't eat were eggs or chocolate. Chocolate because it was a pleasurable thing. And
Okay.
eggs, if you're eating a Daniel, during the Princess of Daniel fast, you're not having anything coming from animals.
Right.
And in looking at, and not so much just chocolate, but things that were in chocolate now, but then things that were decadent and pleasurable, you were
Right.
supposed to be really giving that up. So come Easter Sunday morning, when you broke that fast, and people still do this, you can have everything you want. I know people who, you give up certain things, and coffee might be one of them. Baby, that morning you wake up, and if you go to the sunrise service, I'm having coffee on the way to church.
Right.
You know, so eating eggs on Easter Sunday was tied to Lent, and one of those things that were pleasurable, something you couldn't have, but something that was, eggs weren't something that you just go to the store and get like we do. And so
Right.
it was
Okay.
again that pleasurable kind of thing that you were giving up. And you're like, oh, I can have this, that, I'm good, I'm good,
Right.
I love this. And we still do it today. We dye those eggs. Like I said, it was
Mhm.
based on earlier traditions. The rabbit. When we
Mhm.
think of you talk about somebody multiplying, we say, "Oh, you having babies like a rabbit." So rabbits again represent or a symbol for life.
Mhm. Mhm.
Just
Mhm.
life. But we don't see those correlations. But when we get to see them, we understand, oh, because you just said, what does the family have to do with these? Didn't have
Mm-hmm.
anything to do with the resurrection, but it has a
Right.
lot to do with rebirth. And these are all
Right.
symbols. So when we look at the pagan or secular holiday, the symbols are so related.
Yeah. You can see how
I
they
wanted
get
to
blurred.
go on.
I would say you can see how they are blurred
Mm-hmm.
because of those things.
And like you said, when we grew up, we knew the Easter story. You know, we were
Mm-hmm.
taught that, we were told that. But I can remember when I was working at a church in Houston, we would do a community Easter egg hunt,
Mm-hmm.
and we'd have literally hundreds of kids show up. But before you got to, you had to sign in, and then
Mm-hmm.
we had a little bounce house for them. We had snow cones, and we had hot dogs, and you did all that. Then you went into the sanctuary,
Mm-hmm.
and when you went into the sanctuary, you were presented the real story. You knew about and it was created because it was for children, and it was short because it
Mm-hmm.
was for children waiting to go on the Easter egg hunt.
Right.
We did it one year, and this grandmother came up and then she said it to me, and I'll never forget. She goes, "I've never heard the story. I never knew that." Because she didn't grow up in church. She gave her life to Christ that day
Wow.
at an Easter egg hunt.
Wow.
And for me, after that, oh, I was real good with
Mm-hmm.
blending the two and marrying them
Yes.
together because I think we did a good job. And we talked about the egg and, a new life, but the ultimate new life is your life in Christ.
Yes. Yes.
And
That's
they
it.
got it. The kids got it. Every year we have kids come up and give their life to Christ. But when a grandmother
Mm.
could say, we didn't grow up going to church, so I never knew this.
Wow.
And it was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. I'm sure
So
that
it can
was.
be when you do it right,
Yeah.
it can mean a lot.
Right.
Um, I wanted you to touch for a minute on Holy Week. We hear that term, and you talked about Monday, Thursday, and I know people who don't know what that means. And what was she talking about? What is it? Because again, not everybody goes to church, and not even every church talks about it. We just know it's Holy Week. Can you kind of give us a little snippet of what the days are in Holy Week?
Okay. So Holy Week is that week preceding um, up to Resurrection Sunday. It's the final week of Lent, where we commemorate the last week of Jesus's life, right? And so it starts with Palm Sunday. That's the Sunday before Easter, and it's Jesus' triumphal entry into Jerusalem. They threw palms on the road, and this is when Jesus came in, riding on the colt, and after uh, Palm Sunday, you have Holy Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And so these are the days where we are reflecting on the teachings of Jesus. And then we come to Monday, Thursday, or Holy Thursday. And so this actually speaks to the Last Supper that Jesus had with the disciples. Uh, a lot of people commemorate it with the foot washing, and this is the act that Jesus performed for the disciples, and this for me, I'm just speak for myself.
Mm-hmm.
When I think about that, I think about, we think about that being like the lowest job that you can do. That's
Mm-hmm.
almost like cleaning the bathroom,
Your dirty feet been everywhere.
Yeah, right. And
Mm-hmm.
especially in that day, they didn't have, Timberlands or or Nikes or anything like that. They walked around with sandals on, and of course, their feet were filthy. And so this act is considered to be this beautiful showing of Jesus, that it's not about the important jobs in ministry.
Mhm.
It's about the lowly things. If you are able to wash someone's feet, that is considered just a sacrificial type of act that you would do.
Mhm.
um
Mhm.
and so that's what it commemorates, the last supper that Jesus had with the disciples. And so then Good Friday, Good Friday, it observes the crucifixion and the death of Jesus. That's on that Friday. And a lot of traditions, or a lot of faith traditions, or a lot of Christian faith traditions, they have, the seven last words, where they speak on the seven last sayings of Christ. But that's what it's doing. It's observing all of those things that took place on the way to Calvary. And then Saturday, also considered Holy Saturday, it's supposed to be this very, very solemn day. A lot of persons that have Good Friday services, when they leave the sanctuary, a lot of times they practice leaving in silence,
Mhm.
because it's this solemn act where we're anticipating or waiting for the resurrection. And then, of course, we have Resurrection Sunday, where we celebrate the resurrection of Jesus from the dead. So basically, Holy Week is observed with all these different rituals, prayers, services, and this is what a lot of Christian denominations do all over the world during this particular week.
Thanks for sharing that because it gave us a look at Easter versus resurrection. And resurrection is, that Holy Week is a good way to say it. And like you said, there are a lot of traditions we do with resurrection. I talked a lot about the Easter, the pagan, side. But in Christianity, and we don't even know why we do a lot of things, even with
Mm-hmm.
that. We call it Holy Week, and a lot of people don't even think of, oh, yes, it's Holy Week. What is it? I don't
Right.
know. It's Holy Week. It's the week before resurrection. But
It's
each
holy.
day had a symbol. Each day had something. And
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to comment on that foot washing. That it can be a very powerful. I remember the first actual foot washing ceremony I participated. They didn't tell you have your feet clean before you come here. You're not getting a pedicure. You come here. But the foot washing service the first one, it was done in silence.
Mm-hmm.
And those who were watching, you were just coming, sitting in, and it just was very powerful to have the experience to
Yeah.
be, and I was able to be on both sides of it, the
Mm-hmm.
receiver and the giver, and both had a different feel to it, because you are humbling yourself to
Yeah.
wash someone's feet, but you're also humbling yourself to have it done. You know, anybody looking at your feet?
Okay.
They thinking, I gotta let me go get a pedicure before I go to the foot
Right,
wash because you will not be looking at my feet looking jacked up.
right.
But to have someone to be in a position
Mm-hmm.
where, because to wash your feet, they're bowed before you.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wash your feet and stand up.
No.
And so to have someone be in a position of humbling themselves before you can be humbling for you.
Absolutely.
So when we dig deeper in some of the symbols that we have that are really important, I think we can overlook, and I laugh when you said, and he got up, because that was the one thing on Easter Sunday morning that Pastor had to say it. He got up
Early. Don't forget early.
early one Sunday morning, and we
Right.
hear that and it's associated with it, but we can lose the reality of what it means in just the words. But if he
Yes.
didn't get up, there wouldn't be a Christian faith, because we are, it would just be he would be a prophet, another man. But our faith is based on the fact that he did get up, his death, burial, and most importantly, resurrection.
Resurrection.
So I
Absolutely.
thank you. I tell you, 30 minutes goes pretty quick. And I want to thank you for coming. I always end with a challenge. What is my challenge? If you don't know Jesus, I pray that you find him. There are many Christians around that you can find one and they can tell you about it. If you know Jesus as your Savior, Don't just blindly follow. We talked about some of the symbols today because know what you believe. Not because grandmama did it, mama did it, maybe uncle, whoever. Know what you believe. No, don't just look at the symbols, the traditions. Know in your heart what you believe. How does it fit with your mental health? Your faith can be the strongest thing you can stand on. But if you're going to have that faith, know what it is. And I always end my last point is always going to be vote, 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 and be an educated voter. Why I need
Yes.
to remind you of that. So much goes on in our world, even impacting our your faith, because laws can be impacted, whether churches can be open, whether churches can be virtual. During COVID, there were certain things that couldn't happen. Laws can change even how you're able to practice your faith. So yes, vote, vote, vote. It goes with everything we say. So thanks again, Dr. Denman, for joining me today. So we could just let folks know about Easter versus resurrection. I
Yes.
am Bronwyn, the Black Couch Therapist, here to help you become a better you. See you next week.